You're listening to KEXP at 90.3 FM in Seattle, streaming worldwide at kexp.org. I'm Cheryl Waters down in the KEXP studios with Girlpool. Welcome.
Thank you, Cheryl.
So great to have you here. Tonight you play at Numos here in Seattle. You have a great new album called What Chaos is Imaginary. I'm so excited to talk about that, but I'm even more excited to hear live music. Start us off with a couple songs.
Great.
Will I make the
You're listening to Girlpool live on KEXP. What Chaos is Imaginary is the brand new record, and it is so fun to have you here. You sound fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Harmony and Cleo, you have pretty much grown up together. You've made some very viscerally personal music together over the years, and I imagine learned so much from each other. You've been friends since you were teenagers, is that right?
Yeah.
Did you meet at a show? Is that how it happened?
Yeah. At the Smell. I was working door at the Smell, and
It's a DIY space in LA that is still around.
Yeah.
But yeah, Harmony was working door.
And Cleo was dancing, and we became quick friends.
And you almost started making music immediately after that. It was not too long after that you had music out.
Yeah.
Recorded.
It's very wild.
It was cute.
It's quite a ride.
Well, I imagine that it's been quite a ride. You've grown so much together. I mean, you were teenagers when you met. You started making music right away. Then you started touring. I mean, you've lived so much life together. And I understand for this record that you decided to take some time apart prior to making it. And I can only imagine how much of a change that was for you, but also probably an even bigger growth experience having to kind of make music on your own for the first time. Tell me a little bit what that was like.
Well, yeah, I don't know. We weren't really apart. We've always written music separate from one another and shown it to each other. So it really wasn't very different. We just I guess the way that we both have been describing it is our previous records. We built every song from the ground up with each other, and this album is we each built different houses and painted walls in each other's places. So it doesn't feel less intimate. It's just kind of different, but yeah, if that makes sense.
So because you were living in different cities, though, you were just still able to, because of technology these days, you could send music back and forth and it didn't feel that different than the way you'd made songs before?
Yeah, and I'm so close. We were living not so far away. We would visit each other a lot, and I was living in Philly and New York. Cleo was in New York at one point. We would just take the bus or drive somehow between both. They're not super far apart, and we're kind of exploring from a distance,
I imagine when you're writing a song, especially one packed with so much emotion, you can hit a creative block. Is that something that you push each other through, that can help each other through, or do you kind of hunker down and try to push yourself through that?
Yeah, I think that was also one of the main reasons why we wanted to explore songwriting separate from one another. Is we started writing music together at such a beginning time in our songwriting life, and so we were leaning on each other, or I felt like I was leaning on, I don't want to speak for you on the radio, but there's our own songwriting muscle that had to be exercised or whatever. So
as you've learned more and gained more experience over the years, because I feel like each Girlpool record is kind of a snapshot of a different period in your life. They're all a little bit different, and this one feels the most different of all, and I'm sure lots of different things going on in your life can contribute to that, but also just as you grow and learn more as an artist, what did you want to do on this record that you felt was new for you? Maybe new experiences in the studio, new toys to play with, or new thoughts or to express?
I feel like in the past it's been sort of for me at least, my confidence was so much, my confidence as a creative person, Cleo was a vehicle of confidence, because there was this anonymousness to us making work together, where it was if something I wasn't sure about or felt uncertain in myself about, it was masked by the fact that it was me and Cleo. And I think what was exciting about this record was kind of unmasking what was me and Cleo, and owning the different parts of ourselves, and kind of validating all the past selves we've been, and giving a space and an opportunity for those selves to be expressed in a wider kind of creative tonal space. So exploring that more fully and honoring that existed, kind of. Does that make sense?
It does. There's so much emotion and passion, and even before we turned on the mic, we talked about how you might cry during these songs because, or you'd have emotion on your faces, and there's a different emotional story in every song on this record, but Higher especially felt so passionate. You started with that song. I mean, Cleo, I'm guessing that you wrote that song since you had the lead vocals on there. What's that song about for you?
It's changed a bit, but I mean, originally it was like about a relationship, and now it's kind of like about my relationship to myself lately. But yeah, I have described that one as like a tantrum. It's kind of just like, just no real awareness for anything other than like this feeling or something. I don't know. It's just kind of like me freaking out, I guess. Glad you like it, though.
I do. You can feel the passion on it when you were performing it there. And I'm curious what the title of the record means. It's very captivating.
Well, it was an idea that came to me when I was living in Philly and was having a really hard time kind of processing being a human being, just general tangible reality. And also, I was raised in a very progressive household where lots of different ideas were introduced to me from a really young age, and it was kind of about how we can be shown so many different realities and ideas and concepts from others and from ourselves, and kind of about how we navigate everything we're shown. And that's like in terms of like, if you have something traumatic happen, how do we navigate something terrible that happens to us and like mentally process it? And also kind of about the dark side of the imagination, which I think is a really interesting part of like being a creative person, is like you can, like everyone's a creative person, obviously, but like the dark side of having a creative mind is that you can like, how children are afraid of the dark or like see a boogie monster or whatever. It's like indicative of that side of ourselves. It's like us turning into ourselves and against ourselves and using that for a negative thing that ultimately sabotages us.
Well, the title is called What Chaos is Imaginary. It's the new album from Girlpool. And now that you've worked so hard on this record, how does it feel to have these little babies out in the world and interacting with live audiences?
Surreal.
Great.
Surreal and great. I love it. We're so happy to have you here. Tonight, Girlpool is playing at New Mo's here in Seattle, and they have a couple more songs.
Running all the time.
You're listening to Girlpool live on KEXP. And boy, shout out to your band, Soraya, Patrick, and Roz. You all sound so great.
We love them.
Must be fun to be on tour with your best friend and all these great musicians.
Truly. Yeah. So true.
Oh, so beautiful. It's Girlpool live on KEXP, performing songs from the new album, What Chaos is Imaginary. Thank you so much.
Thanks
Thank
so
you
much
so
for having
much.
us.
So wonderful to have you here. You've got it tuned to KEXP Seattle. Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.